I would like to invite up Jehan Chu, founder and managing partner for Kenetic.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. I have to say that it's incredibly gratifying and exciting to see so many interested faces looking at the BSN. This has really been the culmination of a lot of work by the BSN team and under Ifan's leadership and supported by Tim, and it's really incredible to really be here and see this. My name is Jehan Chu. I'm the founder of Kenetic. Kenetic is the first blockchain investment firm in Hong Kong. We were started in 2016. I've been in the space since 2013. I founded the Ethereum community here in Hong Kong back in early 2014. So I've seen a lot of different cycles and a lot of different experiences and markets in both blockchain and crypto. And we are very fortunate to be investors in Red Date Technologies, which is really the engine and the vision and the architecture behind the BSN and this incredible wide-ranging project. But I wanted to take a minute to zoom out because I know there's been a lot of technical talk and discussion, and really just re-examine some of the basic concepts, and then also look at BSN more from an investor's perspective, which is really more my specialty. To us at Kenetic, I mean, we've invested in over 230, 240 projects. We're seed investors in projects like Solana and FTX and Ethereum and Polkadot. And Alchemy, which is a $10.2 billion company. So we've seen really a lot of different types of founders and cycles and theses around blockchain and crypto. And of course, as the founder of the Ethereum meetup, I believe in decentralization and I believe in crypto. And at the same time, I think that's not the end of the story. I think that we had Web 1, Web 2, we're in Web 3, public chain decentralization. But maybe there's another chapter to this story, which maybe you can call it Web 4, or maybe you even call it Web 5 because it's Web 2 plus Web 3. And this is a different paradigm of thinking about blockchain industry because it's public chain plus permission chain. So where we think we're going as a thesis is not just pure public chain. Public chain has incredible power and incredible advantages to traditional Web 2 systems, but it also doesn't work for every single solution. And we know this, especially those of us who are early, because we've struggled so hard to try and shoehorn purely decentralized economies, tokenized ecosystems and applications into a wide variety of industries. Now, what we've come up with and what we feel our thesis is that the future is a hybrid of both public chain and permission chain, of decentralization and semi-decentralization. And that's why we believe that BSN and the entire ecosystem on BSN is so important, not just to blockchain, but to the future foundation of technology globally. And that's why if you ever get me talking about BSN, we often say that out of our 230 portfolio companies, no offense to our other portfolio companies, this is actually the most important one because it has the most significant impact on technology and the future. So I will also say that, when I started the Ethereum meetup, there was like 5 people in a dark bar in March of 2014. But the energy of the people who understood what that was is exactly like this room. That's why I'm so excited that you guys are here. Because whether you understand everything that's happening on the stage or not, I hope you understand that this actually is quite a historic moment where we're starting to re-examine an entirely new chapter of blockchain history. I will also say that, we did pretty well investing in Ethereum and all its kind of ecosystem, and that's going to be the opportunity for you, whether you're investing time or resources or money, investing into this ecosystem and building out is an incredibly early type of, kind of information advantage for you guys. So now that I've kind of given you a sense of like how we see the eventual world, public chain, Ethereum, working alongside permission chain in different areas, who's going to be using it? I think that it's very clear that there are going to be great use cases for tokenization in public chain, but it's also very clear that governments, sovereigns, and probably a number of large enterprise will have a challenge and maybe even a problem building significantly on public chain. I think what Goldman has done in terms of building out that the bond is really exciting. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that a lot of large enterprises are going to give up that level of control. And I'm pretty certain that a lot of governments like to have that measure of kind of reversibility and observability and control so that they can manage their critical infrastructure. Where we see it is public highways will be decentralized, but there will be islands, there will be enclaves of permissioned and unpermissioned that will kind of mix together. And that's kind of how we see the overall architecture of technology going forward and how we'll use it. BSN itself, again, it's not a blockchain. It is a layer 0 technology. It sits underneath everything else. So you have this layer 0 technology, which basically creates a foundation, and then on top, you have all these permissioned blockchains. Now, permissioned blockchains are very useful because, again, it's where you put the applications for the users and the entities who are not comfortable building on purely decentralized and can't really work with purely decentralized systems. So that's what BSN offers, and it lowers the cost, of course, we talked about that. It increases the possibility for interoperability between chains. So think of it almost as a semi-decentralized interoperability layer, which can connect a whole range of different technologies and chains and protocols. And again, as we said, it creates a platform for non-crypto blockchain. And this is my mind kind of bent a little bit when Jehan first kind of explained it to me. Because I was like, what do you mean non-crypto blockchain? Now, of course, we have platforms like Hyperledger and we have platforms like R3, but those are more kind of blockchain, application layers. And I think that they're really maybe early pioneers of this kind of notion. But I think where we go with this is, again, sovereign and enterprise wanting some of the advantages. It's almost like a three-quarter measure where they're able to build and utilize a lot of the technologies that are developed in open source, but at the same time still have that a little bit of recourse to reverse if they need to remain compliant with local regulation, the wide variety of local regulation, and all of its kind of different types of flavors globally. I think that that's why non-crypto works. Also because a lot of institutions can't handle crypto. It's too volatile still. It creates additional custody risks, which if you just want a simple application, maybe you don't want to spend all this time and money having to secure your assets just so you can use a driver's license application. There's a mismatch. And then I think the other part of it is that it also creates additional cost. And so, as Jehan said, what we really want to do with blockchain is make it as cheap and ubiquitous as possible. And that's really what part of this ecosystem is for in this project. So we have all these kind of permission blockchains on top of this layer 0. And so we at Kenetic, we invested in a company called Neptune. Neptune Digital is the creator and operator of something called Wuhan Chain. Wuhan Chain is the official BSN licensed version of the Ethereum blockchain, so it's a fork of Ethereum. It has, I want to be very clear, it has no relation to the Ethereum Foundation. It's really just a technology that's used so that developers who have Ethereum applications can port over their applications and engage the Chinese audience. That's one of the primary use cases. Because right now, as of course public chain is restricted in China. So if you want to reach the Chinese mainland audience, you're going to have a hard time with it because they're not going to be able to use any gas. So this is like a way to reach, for international companies to reach local audiences. There are many open permission blockchains, and there will be more and more. I think there's 10 blockchains so far. Cosmos, Ethereum, Neo, Baidu Superchain, and there will be more and more and more, and there will be a vibrant ecosystem. So you'll still have the ability to actually choose your poison and build on it, and they'll interoperate, but it will be for a different kind of user set than the public blockchain world. Now, this is a very kind of unique opportunity, this kind of layer 0. And I think that these OPBs, these open permission blockchains, will have a really, really large kind of opportunity for all of us. So what's the edge, though? I mean, from an investor standpoint, what's the edge and why is BSN defensible? For us, to be honest, we wouldn't be here looking at this at all if it weren't for the very, very strong backing of the BSN's Network Governance Council, which is China Mobile, China's largest telecom, China UnionPay, China's largest payments provider, the State Information Center, which is basically a think tank underneath China's largest ministry called the NDRC, the National Development Reform Council, I think it's called. It's a massive ministry, one of China's most important ones, and they are really the ones who, and with Red Date, of course, and Red Date is the fourth member, and really, again, the visionary behind it, those four parties create an unprecedented amount of validation and potential distribution and credibility in China for something like this. And so to see a project that has such a wide scope and at the same time such serious government-related backing to bootstrap it, there's simply no other project in the world that's like that. And that's why we say it's the most important blockchain project in the world, because all the other projects that even attempt layer zero, they have a lot of money. Like there's a project called Layer Zero, literally called Layer Zero. They raised, I think it was like $100 million at a $1 billion valuation, and they're a 10-month-old company, which is great, good for them. But they don't have that amount of kind of backing from large players, like Saudi Aramco, who are my colleague Joe from P7 was talking about. So when you're looking at blockchain ecosystems, you really want to go with one that has a lot of traction, and that's why we invested in this one. And that's why I think that it has quite a different type of edge. In addition, that's a very defensible moat to have that type of backing. And we think that those types of sales channels that China Mobile, even domestic China, can provide will be highly defensible. That's just inside of China. Outside of China, you have an entirely other network called Spartan, which is launching today or this week, which is pretty exciting. Now, that's a totally different opportunity set. We see the future of this kind of non-crypto blockchain ecosystem as being particularly suited for developing world. Now, where we think this will really happen is Africa, LATAM, South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia. We think these geographies with massive, like literally the world's majority of the population will be the first to really take on this non-crypto blockchain. And we think that they will use it to skip a generation of technology and go directly to blockchain-based infrastructure, blockchain-based applications. So it's this whole M-Pesa moment, where they skipped a generation and went directly to kind of mobile banking. We think that's going to happen in these places because what BSN and the applications and these permission blockchains provide is this type of functionality out of the box. At the same time, crowdsourcing the legions of applications in all sectors that allow them to kind of port over easily. So this is how we see it all kind of coming together. We also see that BSN is an ideal candidate for central bank digital currency infrastructure. We think that CBDCs will be the norm. There will still be private stablecoins, but we think that central bank digital currencies will be the norm. But they need a context. They need an application framework and infrastructure to actually make it usable. They need all of the kind of pipes, especially for B2B solutions, that will make kind of provide use cases for transferring all this type of money. And we think that really BSN is, again, the kind of logical kind of candidate for this. But even, this type of application protocol needs like a killer app. And we think that the first killer app of BSN is something called the DDC. Now, we know that NFTs and metaverse are all the rage. We ourselves at Kenetic, we have invested in over 20 NFT companies. So we have, we know a thing or two about the ecosystem. But in China, NFTs are not banned, but because public crypto is restricted, how are you going to transfer anything if you can't pay for the gas? And so right now, NFTs are kind of dead in the water because you can't really operate publicly if you're trading in these things and you need to kind of pay for gas. So DDCs, or distributed digital certificates, is China's version of digital assets, but in a permissioned way. And again, there's going to be a lot of people who think that this is antithetical to public blockchain, and it is. But I guess the point here is that there's not just one solution for the entire world. Different countries, different users, different types of problems require different solutions. And in the case of China, where they have very strict kind of regulations around content, this is a solution that works for them. And so we think that the digital asset economy in China is going to be a huge opportunity, and this distributed digital certificate technology is going to be the killer app, and already there's quite a lot of traction. And we'll speak a little bit about this in the panel around DDC, but just want to kind of cover that. Now, I just want to end on really thinking about the opportunities for all of you in the room, because I think that this is a very special moment, but it might be hard to really divine how does this relate to you and what you're doing. I think that if you're a startup or if you're a VC and you have startups in your portfolio, the opportunity for you is to let your startups know that BSN exists and that it's blue ocean. There's no competition here at all. BSN is going to have to build not just one kind of blockchain protocol ecosystem, but at least 10, probably more along the lines of like 30 or 40, because all of these open permission blockchains will require applications to populate them on top. That's an enormous opportunity for startups who have already built on other chains to actually port their applications over and deploy, and in the short term reach the Chinese audience, in the long term reach the international audience with this non-crypto solutions. If you're a VC, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to invest in all of these companies. It's an entirely new generation of companies. And you can think of it, for us, we were seed investors in Polkadot. And we ended up investing in a lot of companies that built on Polkadot. DEXs and wallets and everything. We're going to see the same thing happening on the BSN ecosystem, a whole generation of non-crypto blockchain applications. And we think that, again, those customers will be some of the largest kind of user bases because it's mainstream audience. And then finally, I think, I've lived in Hong Kong for about 16 years now. I'm proud of Hong Kong, and I want to see it succeed and continue succeeding, even in kind of adverse types of economies like this one. And I think that Hong Kong has a very, very unique window and opportunity to become a center of excellence for BSN and for these open permission blockchain ecosystems. There is an incredible demand for development applications in China, or there will be, we believe, for this. And I think that Hong Kong is really, really well suited to be a bridge and a hub to attract international companies, to develop and then deploy into China and be that kind of that middle ground, both going in and out. And then, of course, with the ERMB, it makes it even more important as a financial center. So I think there's an incredible amount of kind of possibility and potential. I'm extremely proud and excited to be a part of it in a small way, supporting Yifan and Tim and their incredible team. And I would really just invite all of you to really kind of dig in and learn more about this. Learn about Neptune and the Wuhan chain and see if it might be, kind of interesting solutions for you. Thank you very much.